Christiane, you recently gave a speech in which you said that it was important for journalists not to lose their nerve now in light of the backlash they're getting, but to recommit to real reporting. Why do you believe that's so imperative right now?
Well, for several reasons, Diana. Good to be with you. Number one, the Donald Trump campaign suddenly put the fate and the safety and the freedom of American journalists right in the focus. And people were being targeted at rallies with all sorts of hateful rhetoric, journalists being called by Donald Trump despicable and dishonest, the most lying people he'd ever met, etc., etc. So this is something that's unacceptable. There is no First Amendment right to threaten the safety and the freedom of American journalists. By contrast, there is a First Amendment right for American journalists to operate in freedom and safety. So taking all that, we realize now that we have to actually fight to defend that space, not just our rights, but the factual space. Because, Diana, what all this coincides with is this terrible tsunami, this virus of fake news, otherwise known as lies, which are peddled across social media, places like Facebook, with a massive, wide distribution. So for all those reasons, we have to fight to defend facts right now in what's been described as a post-truth world.
You cited a tweet sent out by Donald Trump, in fact, right after his win, when there were still demonstrators in the streets. And he said they were professional protesters incited by the media. What about that concerned you?
Well, you know, my blood ran cold when I saw that. First and foremost, the idea of professional protesters has been debunked by the very fake news writer who wrote it and made it up. But the second most importantly chilling thing was to hear the words incited by the media. Those are the kinds of words that we hear in the non-democratic part of the world, if you like, in places where authoritarian leaders blame the press, demonize the press, use the press as the organized opposition. They target the press and set the press up as an opposition to their government. And they do it by subtly ratcheting up the accusations against the press. So inciting, sympathizing, associating, actually being terrorists and subversives. And as you know, journalists around the world are routinely locked up, put in jail, put on trial on phony charges. So that's why that worried me very much. And I felt I had to, push back on that and take a stand against that.
It's not just Trump, though, who's been critical of the media. Have journalists lost the public trust?
In general, the establishment press has lost some of the trust of the public. I would submit that it's for several reasons. One, and most especially, because of the tsunami of fake news that purports to be real news and therefore compromises the truth and therefore compromises what people believe to be the media. I would say also by the extreme political partisanship and the tribal corners that the press has been forced into in this hyper-political, hyper-partisan landscape. And then I would say one more thing, that we must not just be talking heads. Our credibility is grounded in our experience and our unique experience as the eyes and ears of our viewers, our audience, our readers, our listeners, whoever are the consumers and our constituents, the people who we owe the basic truth about what's going on around the world. The fact that we're doing less of that on-the-ground reporting, I think, comes back to hurt us. So I really do hope that this moment is one where there's a call to arms to defend the fact-based landscape, to defend the truth, and to defend and recommit to a much greater real reportage around the world in every nook and cranny that we need to be in.
Christiane, thank you.
Thank you, Dana.